Chapter 1. The Stranger Among the Stars. In the sprawling metropolis of New Centauri, a city where the neon glow of countless advertisements and the ceaseless hum of anti-grav traffic created a constant backdrop of electric life, humanity lived side by side with a myriad of alien species. This sprawling urban jungle was a melting pot of cultures and technologies, where starships docked alongside hover taxis and streets buzzed with the chatter of dozens of languages, some melodic, others guttural, all blending into an indistinguishable symphony of the cosmos. Yet beneath the dazzling skyscrapers and glittering hollow billboards, the city bore its scars, a labyrinth of forgotten alleys, derelict sectors, and shadowed corners where the outcasts and lost souls sought refuge from the relentless advance of progress. Here, the divide between privilege and poverty was stark, with the affluent living in lofty towers that pierced the clouds, while the homeless human and alien alike scrounged for survival amidst piles of synthetic waste and the flickering light of malfunctioning street lamps. Among the denizens of this chaotic world was Elias Ward, a human engineer whose life was as tangled and worn as the city's winding streets. Elias was a man whose talents far exceeded the meager existence he led, a genius with machines, capable of coaxing forgotten technology back to life and repairing systems deemed irreparable. Yet, despite his skills, he was no titan of industry or celebrated inventor. Instead, he toiled in the depths of New Centauri's poorest district, eking out a living repairing broken drones, patching battered exosuits, and salvaging what he could from the ruins of abandoned starports. His workshop was a cramped and cluttered enclave nestled between towering rusted metal stacks and flickering hollow ads that struggled against the pervasive grime and dust. To Elias, the city was a paradox, its brilliance shrouded by shadows, its endless bustle concealing the quiet desperation of those left behind. One cold, rain-soaked night, Elias's routine existence was irrevocably altered. Returning home after a grueling day of work, his boots splashing through puddles shimmering with neon reflections, Elias heard the faintest sound, a soft, desperate whimper carried on the wind, barely audible amidst the cacophony of the city. Curious and compelled by a deep-seated empathy, he followed the sound to a narrow alley cloaked in darkness and littered with the detritus of forgotten lives. There, huddled beneath a torn tarp and shivering in the biting chill, was a figure unlike any he had seen before. She was an alien woman, slender and fragile, with skin that shimmered faintly like liquid silver under the meager streetlights, and eyes vast and luminous, reflecting the sorrow of 1,000 lost stars. Her form was delicate, yet there was an undeniable grace in her presence, an ethereal beauty that seemed both out of place and deeply connected to the city's pulse. Elias approached cautiously, heart pounding with a mixture of concern and wonder. The alien woman's gaze met his, wide and searching, flickering with fear and cautious hope. She spoke in a language Elias did not understand, a melodic cadence filled with soft consonants and musical vowels that resonated in the cold air like a haunting lullaby. But beneath the barrier of words, there was a shared understanding born of loneliness and survival. Without hesitation, Elias removed his worn coat and draped it gently over her shoulders. She smiled, a fragile, trembling expression that spoke of gratitude and relief, and gestured weakly toward the horizon. Elias sensed that she was without shelter, lost and alone in a city that swallowed the helpless whole. In the following days, Elias's life became entwined with this mysterious alien woman. Unable to leave her to the merciless streets, he set about building a shelter and oasis amid the urban decay. Using scavenged materials from his workshop and the help of sympathetic neighbors who recognized the urgency in his mission, Elias constructed a refuge beneath the shadows of crumbling overpasses and tangled power lines. The shelter was humble, a patchwork sanctuary of insulated panels, warm lighting, and makeshift furnishings, but it was a beacon of safety and warmth in the unforgiving cityscape. The alien woman, whom Elias learned to call Lyra after decoding fragments of her language with the aid of data shards and translation modules, slowly regained her strength within those walls. Lyra's presence was both a mystery and a revelation. She shared stories of a distant world ravaged by war and betrayal, a place where she had once belonged to a proud and advanced civilization now shattered by its own hubris. Her memories were fragmented, like shards of a broken crystal, but they painted a haunting portrait of loss, exile, and a desperate search for belonging. Elias listened, fascinated and humbled, as she recounted tales of starships that sailed on wings of light, cities carved into the crystalline mountains of her homeworld, and the devastating war that had cast her adrift across the void. In turn, he shared his own stories of the city's grinding struggles, his lonely nights repairing broken machines, and the fragile hope that flickered in his heart for a better future. As their bond deepened, Lyra made a gesture that surprised Elias beyond words. One evening, as the city's artificial lights dimmed and the stars finally broke through the smog's veil, she invited him into her home. It was not the crude shelter he had built, but a vision that defied imagination. Using an ancient alien artifact she had carried with her, a shimmering shard of technology, far beyond human understanding, Lyra transformed a neglected corner of the city into a radiant sanctuary. Walls pulsed with soft bioluminescent light, the air hummed with gentle energy, and the space seemed alive, breathing with the warmth of 1,000 worlds. It was a home unlike any Elias had seen, a fusion of alien elegance and human resilience. In that moment, standing within the sanctuary created by Lyra's hands and hope, Elias realized that this encounter was no accident. The universe had woven their paths together, intertwining two lost souls across the stars. Together, they would face the challenges of the city and beyond, not as isolated survivors, but as partners united by compassion, courage, and the promise of a new beginning. Over the following weeks, Elias dedicated himself wholly to the task of transforming a derelict sector of the city into a sanctuary not just for Lyra, but for anyone who had nowhere else to go. He scavenged scrap from abandoned starship hulks, repurposed broken drones, and welded together walls reinforced against the harsh elements and the ever-present threat of hostile gangs. Every day he toiled, constructing insulated shelters with integrated heating units powered by salvaged fusion cells, creating communal spaces bathed in soft luminescence to replace the cold shadows. The shelter was humble, rough-hewn from necessity rather than luxury, but it breathed life and hope into the forgotten corners of New Centauri's underbelly. Word spread quietly of the human who built a refuge for the destitute, and slowly, others began to seek out the shelter, drawn by the promise of warmth and safety. Lyra, though still fragile, grew stronger with each passing day. The alien woman's presence brought an otherworldly grace to the shelter. She learned to communicate through a fusion of human languages and her own melodic tongue, teaching Elias phrases laced with mystery and ancient wisdom. Her knowledge of alien botany and healing arts enabled her to cultivate bioluminescent plants that glowed softly, weaving natural beauty into the industrial sprawl of the shelter. She became not just a survivor, but a healer and guardian to those who found sanctuary there. Their partnership deepened, a delicate balance of human pragmatism and alien empathy, forging a bond that transcended worlds and histories. And then one night, beneath a sky softened by the glow of distant stars and the shelter's warm lights, Lyra did the unthinkable. She invited Elias to enter her home. Her home was not a simple dwelling but a shimmering realm that defied the gritty realities outside. Through the alien artifact she carried, a shard pulsing with ancient energy, she conjured a sanctuary of crystalline beauty and tranquil light. Walls breathed with soft bioluminescence, floors rippled like liquid glass, and air hummed with an energy that calmed and healed. It was a place where past wounds faded and future hopes blossomed. Elias stepped inside, awestruck by the fusion of alien technology and profound grace. It was a home offered not out of obligation but out of trust and gratitude. In that luminous chamber, amid echoes of distant galaxies and whispered promises, two lost souls found refuge not just from the harsh city, but from the loneliness that had haunted them across stars and lifetimes. Chapter 2: Bonds Beyond Worlds. The days that followed were marked by a quiet transformation of the shelter, of the people who gathered there, and of Elias and Lyra themselves. The sanctuary became a beacon, drawing those cast aside by fate, humans who had lost everything, aliens fleeing war-torn worlds, and beings whose stories were etched with loss and hope. Each arrival added to the tapestry of resilience woven within the shelter's walls. Together, they built not just a refuge, but a community born from compassion and courage. Elias found his purpose renewed, not only as a builder of machines, but as a maker of home and family. Lyra's presence blossomed into something extraordinary. She taught the shelter's inhabitants to listen to the whispers of the stars, to the rhythms of alien plants, and to the silent language of healing. Her wisdom bridged divides, easing tensions born of centuries-old conflicts. She became a symbol of unity, her stories inspiring hope that transcended species and histories. And in Elias's eyes, she was more than an alien stranger. She was a companion whose strength and grace had reshaped his world. Together, they faced the challenges of their city, the harsh winters, the looming threats of gangs, and the indifferent bureaucracy that sought to erase their sanctuary. But the galaxy beyond New Centauri stirred with uncertainty. Political factions eyed the shelter's growing influence with suspicion. Reports filtered in of bounty hunters tracking Lyra's unique signature, while shadowy agencies debated whether to extinguish the beacon of unity or harness its power for their own ends. Elias and Lyra knew that their sanctuary was no longer safe from the tides of galactic intrigue. Yet, they faced these looming storms not as isolated survivors, but as partners fortified by trust and vision. The shelter, born from scrap and compassion, was becoming a fulcrum for change where the homeless could find hope, and where two beings from distant worlds had woven a new home from the fragments of loss. As the shelter blossomed from a fragile refuge into a thriving community, Elias and Lyra found themselves at the heart of something far greater than either had anticipated. The people who came seeking sanctuary were as varied as the stars themselves: displaced miners from collapsing asteroids, refugees from distant wars, former soldiers haunted by memories they could not escape, and alien nomads whose languages carried the cadence of ancient planets. Each soul brought stories of loss and resilience, and each found a place amid the warm glow of the shelter's flickering lights. Elias's practical ingenuity ensured that life could be sustained here. He rigged water reclamation systems, built improvised gardens that thrived under Lyra's guidance, and restored communication arrays so that help might reach their corner of the universe. But it was Lyra's compassion and wisdom that transformed the shelter's walls into a true home. Her alien teachings of harmony with nature, of healing through touch and song, wove a thread of peace through the lives of the broken and the wandering. She was a beacon, a living testament that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, light could be kindled. Yet as the community flourished, the harsh realities of the galaxy crept ever closer. The growing haven in New Centauri did not go unnoticed. Factions within the sprawling city government viewed the settlement with suspicion, uneasy with a self-governed enclave that defied bureaucratic control. Crime lords saw the shelter as a threat to their dominance over the city's underworld and sent enforcers to intimidate and dismantle it. Worse still, rumors spread that Lyra was no mere refugee but a fugitive from a powerful alien regime, her very presence a spark that could ignite political flames across multiple star systems. One evening, as Elias repaired a critical power relay, warning signals blared throughout the shelter. A raid was imminent. Armed mercenaries and city enforcers descended like a storm, their weapons crackling with lethal intent. But the community, bound by trust and purpose, stood firm. With Elias coordinating defenses and Lyra rallying the frightened yet determined, they fought not only with makeshift weapons, but with fierce resolve. The assault was repelled, a testament to the strength born of unity. That night, amidst the aftermath of destruction and the flickering embers of burned-out shelters, Elias and Lyra sat beneath the bioluminescent canopy they had nurtured together. They spoke not just of survival, but of a vision, a future where such havens could exist openly, where peace and cooperation transcended species and politics. Elias saw in Lyra a partner whose otherworldly grace was matched only by her unyielding courage, while Lyra found in Elias the steadfast heart of a man who dared to defy the darkness. Together, they vowed to protect their home, to grow their community, and to face whatever storms the galaxy would send with unwavering strength. Chapter 3: The Weight of Legacy. The Sanctuary's fragile peace was shattered not by overt war, but by whispers and shadows. Intelligence reached Elias that powerful entities beyond New Centauri corporate megacities, authoritarian regimes, and secretive interstellar councils were moving pieces on a galactic board, seeking to capture or silence the shelter and its enigmatic alien inhabitant. The artifact Lyra carried, a relic of a lost civilization with capabilities far beyond known technology, had drawn eyes hungry for power. Elias realized that their fight was no longer confined to city streets or political squabbles. It was entwined with forces that spanned light years and centuries of history. With Vera's help, the ancient AI Lyra had connected with, Elias began to unravel the secrets embedded in the artifact. It was a beacon, a repository of knowledge and power from a civilization that had vanished eons ago, technology capable of healing worlds or weaponizing entire star systems. This knowledge could shift the balance of power in the galaxy irrevocably, and it was up to Elias and Lyra to safeguard it. But the burden was immense. Every alliance formed was shadowed by mistrust. Every victory carried the cost of vigilance and sacrifice. Elias found himself forced to walk a razor's edge, leading a community while navigating the treacherous tides of interstellar intrigue. Yet amidst the mounting threats, moments of profound humanity shone through. Children born in the shelter grew up knowing safety and hope, learning both human and alien ways. Elders shared tales beneath the glowing gardens of resilience and renewal. Elias and Lyra's bond deepened, their shared dreams weaving together two disparate worlds into one. They transformed from mere survivors into leaders, symbols of what could be achieved when compassion bridged the stars. But the galaxy was vast and the shadows long. Their journey was far from over. The deeper Elias and Lyra delved into the mysteries of the artifact, the heavier the burden grew. It was no ordinary relic. It was a living archive, a repository of lost technology and wisdom from an ancient civilization whose power had once shaped entire galaxies. The knowledge contained within the shard was vast, spanning advances in energy manipulation, biogenetics, and starship propulsion that far exceeded anything known to modern science. But it was also dangerous. The artifact radiated a subtle but undeniable pull, a beacon that reached out across the void, attracting not only curious scholars but ruthless warlords, mercenaries, and shadow governments willing to spill blood for its control. Elias found himself locked in a silent war of information and influence, using every scrap of cunning and diplomacy to keep the artifact and the shelter safe from those who would exploit its power for domination or destruction. Tensions within the shelter itself tested Elias's leadership. Fear and uncertainty occasionally sparked dissent among those who had sought refuge, while old rivalries from distant worlds threatened to unravel the fragile harmony Lyra and Elias had nurtured. Yet, in the darkest hours, the community's spirit endured. Lyra's alien wisdom and healing arts became a source of profound solace, bridging divides and fostering understanding among species that had once viewed each other as enemies. Elias, meanwhile, used his engineering prowess not just to repair broken machines, but to build networks of communication and defense, fortifying the shelter against external threats while preserving its openness and humanity. The stakes rose when an emissary from a powerful interstellar coalition arrived, bearing both warnings and offers. They saw the artifact as a prize, a tool to enforce order or ignite new wars. Elias faced impossible choices: to surrender the shard and risk its misuse, to fight and potentially doom his community, or to disappear into the shadows of the cosmos, sacrificing everything he had built. But Elias was no stranger to hardship. With Lyra by his side and the shelter's inhabitants united, he chose to stand firm. The artifact was not merely a weapon or a prize, it was a hope, a legacy to protect, and a promise to those who had nowhere else to turn. Chapter 4: A Home Beyond Worlds. In the face of overwhelming odds, Elias and Lyra transformed their shelter into a beacon that defied the darkness. Using the artifact's power, they created a sanctuary unlike any other, a place where alien technology and human spirit fused to form a new kind of home. The shelter's walls became living entities, adapting to threats and nurturing life. Gardens bloomed with plants that glowed softly in the night, powered by bioluminescent energy harvested from the artifact. Communication arrays spread out, weaving a network of hope and solidarity that reached far beyond New Centauri, connecting isolated outposts and forgotten colonies. Together, they forged a community where once there was only despair. Their sanctuary became a refuge for the lost and the hunted, a symbol of unity in a fractured galaxy. Tales of the human who built a home for a homeless alien woman and the woman who invited him into hers spread like wildfire, inspiring others to believe that even in the vast emptiness of space, compassion and courage could light a path forward. Elias and Lyra's bond deepened into something eternal, a union that transcended species and history, a testament to the power of shared dreams and unwavering hope. As fleets gathered beyond the stars, and new threats loomed on the horizon, Elias knew their journey was far from over. But he also knew that they were no longer alone. They had built more than a shelter, they had built a home, a family, and a legacy that would ripple through the galaxy for generations. In the quiet moments beneath alien stars and human skies, Elias and Lyra looked out together, ready to face whatever came next, secure in the knowledge that home was where courage and compassion dwelled and that their story was just beginning. Even as the shelter thrived and grew into a sanctuary renowned across star systems, Elias and Lyra never allowed themselves to forget the precariousness of their triumph. The galaxy beyond New Centauri remained turbulent and unyielding, a place where power was often claimed through violence and cunning rather than compassion. Fleets moved in the darkness beyond their reach. Political machinations spun webs that threatened to ensnare even the most careful, and whispers of rebellion, conquest, and exploitation danced on the edges of their newfound peace. But the shelter was more than stone and metal, it was a living, breathing testament to resilience, built upon trust, shared histories, and the courage to imagine a different future. Lyra, with her alien grace and deep connection to the artifact, continued to unlock mysteries buried within the relic's shimmering core. Together with Elias, she discovered ways to channel its energy not only to protect their community, but to heal scarred worlds and restore life to dying ecosystems. Their sanctuary became a beacon not of mere survival, but of renewal where technology served as a tool of creation rather than destruction. Gardens of glowing flora thrived beneath translucent domes, drawing curious scientists and displaced families alike. The shelter's walls, infused with bioengineered materials, pulsed softly, adjusting to weather extremes and muffling the harshness of the outer world. Children born within its embrace grew up knowing the light of safety and the promise of possibility. In the fusion of human tenacity and alien wisdom, a new kind of home flourished, one that bridged worlds and histories. Elias found himself transformed as much as his environment. From a solitary engineer burdened by hardship, he became a leader whose vision inspired loyalty and hope. His days were spent balancing the delicate act of defense, diplomacy, and innovation, negotiating with city officials, forging alliances with other refugee enclaves, and guiding technological advancement grounded in ethical stewardship. Yet amid the pressure, it was in the quiet moments with Lyra beneath the soft glow of the bioluminescent canopy, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams that he found the strength to face whatever storms lay ahead. Their bond was no longer a simple shelter shared between two strangers. It was a home woven from trust, sacrifice, and the enduring human spirit. But as the shelter's light shone brighter, so too did the shadows gather. Dark forces loomed, mercenaries hungry for the artifact's power, rival factions jealous of the sanctuary's influence, and ancient enemies from Lyra's past who refused to let go of vengeance. The shelter became a battleground not only for survival, but for the very soul of a new era. Elias and Lyra stood at the forefront of this fight, their courage unyielding, their resolve sharpened by the knowledge that the home they built was worth every sacrifice. The battles that erupted beneath the twin moons of New Centauri were fierce and relentless, but the shelter held firm, a fortress of hope amidst chaos. In the end, it was not mere force that ensured their survival, but the unity forged within their walls. The community rallied, blending human ingenuity with alien wisdom, each member a vital thread in the fabric of their sanctuary. Through shared hardship and unwavering faith in one another, they faced down threats that would have shattered lesser settlements. And as the dust settled over the final skirmishes, Elias and Lyra knew their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but together, they had built something enduring, a home beyond worlds, where the homeless found refuge, where the lost found purpose, and where love transcended the boundaries of star systems. Standing hand in hand beneath the alien stars, Elias and Lyra looked out at the horizon, a horizon not defined by fear or exile, but by hope, unity, and the limitless possibility of a shared future. Their shelter was no longer just a place of survival. It was a beacon lighting the way for countless others lost in the cold dark of space. And as they stepped forward into the unknown, they carried with them the enduring truth that home is not just where you dwell, but where hearts come together to create a world worth living in. The sanctuary that Elias and Lyra had nurtured was no longer just a place to escape the harshness of the city or the galaxy at large. It had become a symbol, a living testament to what could arise when disparate beings put aside fear and prejudice to build something new. Word of the shelter's miracles spread across the star systems, carried on by refugees, traders, and the whispers of those desperate for hope. Ships of all kinds began to drift toward New Centauri, not with weapons or demands, but seeking asylum, healing, and a chance to rebuild shattered lives. The shelter's population swelled, morphing from a small refuge into a bustling community teeming with life and ambition. With growth came new challenges. Elias found himself juggling the demands of leadership, often standing between his vision and the stark realities of limited resources, cultural clashes, and external threats. The shelter was a microcosm of the galaxy's turmoil and beauty, a place where ancient alien customs intertwined with human ingenuity, where languages collided and blended, and where old wounds struggled to heal under the weight of new beginnings. Lyra's influence was a balm in these times, her teachings fostering understanding and unity through rituals of peace, shared stories, and the gentle power of alien music that seemed to resonate with the soul. Technologically, the artifact Lyra carried continued to reveal its secrets, offering solutions that once seemed impossible. Power systems that drew clean energy from quantum fluctuations, biotechnologies that healed wounds and rejuvenated bodies, and shield generators that could protect entire city blocks from radiation or attack all were integrated into the shelter's fabric. Yet Elias remained vigilant, knowing that such power attracted not only friends but enemies lurking in the shadows. Scouts from hostile factions prowled the fringes, spies infiltrated under false pretenses, and shadowy interests sought to twist the shelter's blessings into tools of control. The battle to preserve the shelter's sanctity was ongoing, a struggle fought with diplomacy, defense, and the unyielding spirit of its inhabitants. In quieter moments, Elias and Lyra found solace in each other's presence. Their relationship had blossomed from necessity into profound companionship and love, a union that defied the cold indifference of space and the barriers of their disparate worlds. Together, they dreamed of a future where their sanctuary was not an anomaly, but a model for coexistence across the galaxy. They envisioned fleets of ships bearing not weapons but aid, cities rebuilt with the knowledge shared freely, and a galaxy where the homeless and the lost could find shelter in the stars. But as the shelter's light grew, so too did the urgency of their mission. A looming coalition of powerful entities, threatened by the sanctuary's rising influence and the artifact's potential, began to mobilize forces aimed at subjugation or destruction. Elias and Lyra prepared for what could be the defining confrontation of their lives, a battle not just for survival, but for the soul of a new era. With allies gathered from the many lives they had touched and the strength forged in shared adversity, they stood ready to face the coming storm. Beneath the alien sky, amidst the vibrant glow of their home, Elias and Lyra held fast to their conviction that love, hope, and courage could illuminate even the darkest corners of the universe. And as starships streaked across the horizon, carrying both menace and salvation, they knew that their journey was not just about building a shelter, it was about igniting a movement, crafting a legacy that would echo through the galaxies for generations to come. The impending storm that loomed over the sanctuary was unlike any threat Elias and Lyra had faced before. The coalition gathering beyond New Centauri was a tapestry of power-hungry warlords, corrupt corporations, and clandestine government factions who saw the shelter's success and the artifact's potential as a threat to their dominion. They amassed fleets with overwhelming firepower, advanced war machines, and assassins skilled in subterfuge. For a time, the balance of power teetered precariously, and the fragile peace threatened to collapse under the weight of ambition and fear. Yet, in this dire hour, the shelter's true strength, its community revealed itself. From every corner of the galaxy, allies answered the call. Former enemies turned friends, refugees who had found hope, and idealists who believed in the vision Elias and Lyra had kindled. Ships bearing aid, fighters, engineers, and diplomats converged upon New Centauri, swelling the ranks of the shelter's defenders. The artifact's power was wielded not as a weapon of destruction, but as a shield of protection, its energies bending space and light to shield the vulnerable and heal the wounded. The sanctuary itself transformed into a bastion of resistance, a symbol that echoed across star systems, rallying those who dreamed of peace amidst the endless war. The battles that erupted in the skies above New Centauri were fierce and desperate. Elias stood at the heart of the command deck aboard the shelter's flagship, coordinating defenses with an uncanny blend of human intuition and alien technology. Lyra, beside him, channeled the artifact's healing energies, tending to the injured and bolstering the resolve of their people. Together, they were more than leaders. They were the embodiment of hope against despair, unity against division. Each enemy ship that fell, each ground assault repelled, was a testament to the shelter's indomitable spirit and the power born of compassion. In the aftermath of the final conflict, as the dust settled and the galaxy watched in awe, Elias and Lyra stood hand in hand beneath the radiant glow of their sanctuary's dome. The city around them had been scarred, but the shelter had endured, stronger and more vibrant than ever. The artifact, once a source of mystery and danger, had become a beacon of healing and enlightenment, its knowledge shared freely to rebuild shattered worlds and bridge ancient divides. The people who had once been homeless, lost, and forgotten now thrived, their lives intertwined in a tapestry of resilience and renewal. Elias gazed into Lyra's luminous eyes and saw reflected the infinite possibilities of the universe, a future not defined by fear or exile, but by connection and courage. Their journey, born from a chance encounter in a rain-soaked alley, had blossomed into a legacy that transcended stars and species. Together, they had built more than a shelter. They had built a home, a family, and a vision for a galaxy where compassion was the strongest force of all. And as new stars dawned on the horizon, shining brighter than ever before, Elias and Lyra stepped forward into the unknown undaunted, united, and ready to light the way for generations to come.